Hello, and welcome to another episode of eBay Scavengers at ebayscavengers.com. This is episode number 76, and this is Ryan, and I'm here with Jay, and we are talking to Caty, who is a frequent commenter on our blog, and she told us recently that she sells on eBay, but she also sells on Amazon through FBA, which is, I think stands for Fulfilled by Amazon. So she sends items directly to Amazon's warehouse, and then they ship out her items for her. So we've been curious about this for a while, so we wanted to talk to Caty and have her answer all our questions.
So Caty, can you quickly give us a quick intro on how you started to sell online?
Yeah, Jay, I actually have kind of been with this since the beginning. I always had an interest in antiques and collectibles. I kind of grew up in a family. My mom bought a lot of that stuff, and it was in the background. You know, when eBay started, I started shopping. And I sold a few things here and there. Wasn't really totally into it. I had another job. I didn't think about trying to make a living doing this.
Right.
I guess it was really about 2008 when things changed. I guess I had been staying home with kids for a few years, so I kind of gave up my career. My husband and I, or my husband at the time, and I had we were heavily leveraged in real estate. We had another business we were trying to develop, and he had a full-time job, and this is when everything fell apart. All the money, all the financing, everything, and we really had to scramble. He lost his job. We lost some of the loan financing we were getting on our other business, and we were just lucky to get out of our real estate. I think we got out of it at a loss, but we did get out. And I just started selling stuff off on eBay to make money, things I had collected. Some of the things, like, you know, I was selling off my own collections, and then I started going to the same places that I had always gone, like thrift stores and estate sales to find good stuff. It was funny, one of the very first things I sold this way, I bought it in an estate sale. I wasn't sure I was going to make any money off of it. It was like an old down jacket from Eddie Bauer. I live here in Seattle, so there's a lot of old Eddie Bauer stuff.
Yeah.
And I looked at that thing, and I was like, I've never seen a label like this before. It looks really unique, and I bought it for $1. I took it home, and I thought about it for a while, and I thought, God, nobody's going to want this. It's so dirty, and it's smelly, and I just don't know. So I finally said, well, maybe I'll get $20 for it. So I put it on eBay, and fortunately I didn't do buy it now. I did an auction. And I think within minutes, people were emailing me all over the world saying, you know, how much to ship to Japan, how much to ship to Germany. And it ended up being like the very first down jacket Eddie Bauer ever made.
Wow.
And it sold for over $500.
Wow, that's great.
So that was just a shot in the dark, but from then on, I was totally hooked.
Yeah.
See, now, I love this story because it sounds a lot like ours. Like, actually, Ryan, her mom and her were selling on eBay when she was a kid, so she already had that experience.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, I also think 2008 was the year that, you know, 2007, 2008, when the economy crashed, a lot of us were like, what are we doing?
Right.
You know, and
Exactly.
I think,
Yeah.
like you just said it, 2008 was when everything went down, so.
Coming from where I was, I had worked for a lot of years in the technical field, but, you know, we were doing pretty well financially, and I decided to stay home with the kids. And then to all of a sudden have to get back to work and try to make a living after being gone for 7 or 8 years was daunting. I didn't even know where to start. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to go back to that field. And by that time, I was so into eBay, I just sort of said, well, you know, I think I can develop this enough to keep doing this. And then I have more flexibility and time for my kids, too.
Yep, that's exactly what we did.
Now, this is always interesting to me because I know we went through this. I mean, we both had these kind of jobs, and we had this image of ourselves as a certain kind of person that had this certain kind of job. And then when we started doing eBay, it was hard for us to kind of grasp the fact that we were now just full-time eBay sellers. It felt very strange. Like, what was that process to just give up a job or this identity?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it happened a little at a time, because even now I go out with friends and I still say, oh, maybe I'll do this, or, maybe I'll go back to work. But I don't know.
Yeah.
It's working and I like it. It's hard for me to imagine I'll be doing this, 30 years from now, but
Right.
who knows?
Yeah.
It's steady income and it's flexible and the world is changing. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So we're talking today about Amazon, and specifically about Amazon FBA, because it's something that we hear about, you read about on the forums. It seems like a lot of eBay people also do this as well. But before we get into the Amazon stuff, would you like to briefly talk about what your eBay store is like now? Is it all like antique vintage?
Yeah, mostly. I am just like you guys. In fact, it's really funny because the reason I found your podcast was that, I'd be listing vintage clothing and constantly your pictures would show up.
That's funny. So
I'd be like, oh, there's that girl again.
Yeah, we've had
her clothes.
Yeah, we've had that happen before.
So, I sell a lot of vintage clothing because it's fun. But, other things as well. I think I started out selling a lot of things in that $20 to $40 range, which really sell quickly.
Yep.
But I've been exhausting myself trying to keep up with, listing enough and keeping the sales going. And it's just me.
Right.
So I've learned over time what, other things to look for. And I don't have a problem selling small pieces of furniture. I've learned to ship them. I ship some collectibles. I look for things with quality and uniqueness. And unlike a lot of other sellers, I absolutely love finding one-of-a-kind type items.
Yep.
They're harder to research. There's no price history.
Yep.
But the thing about it is that the way I see it, you just set your own price.
Yep.
And sometimes I set it outrageously high.
Yep.
And it still sells.
Yep.
So why don't we talk about that real quick? The details of it's your store. Is it mainly buy it now? It's with make offer?
Yeah, I've kind of moved in the same direction you have over time. I know what things are worth if it's something I sell all the time. If it's something very unusual, but I do know something about it, rather than do, see, that's the thing. Some people would say, well, you don't know the price, do it at an auction. But the thing is, how do you know at any given time if the person who really appreciates that will be out there looking?
Right, exactly.
So I just put a very high price on it. I usually don't put best offer on until it's been up for a little while because, if I get watchers right away, I know I'm going to sell it.
That's a good idea. Okay, so let's get into Amazon. And I wanted to do that by first telling you what my idea of how people who sell on Amazon is, just from the things that I've read online in my research. And then you can break it down and tell us how it really is.
Okay.
Sure. So
as far as I know.
No, I mean, as far as you know. So when I read about selling on Amazon, and we actually we're thinking of doing it and trying it, here are our problems. Number one, like you just said, we're often mainly finding older items that don't have a UPC symbol on them.
Right.
They don't have a history.
They're one of a kind, like you said.
Yeah.
We also rarely find things that are in multiples. I mean, maybe I'll find something like 2 to 5 things, but it seems like on Amazon, it's really built for people that can find 100 things of one item.
Yeah.
The other thing when I'm on Amazon is that I noticed that I couldn't post my own photo, which is so interesting to me that I guess Amazon posts the item and there's one photo that everyone shares and then everyone competes on price. So, and then that seemed weird. And then just overall, it just didn't really jive with what we were finding scavenging, because that's really what we do is that we're just out there looking for the stuff
Finding
that's
random stuff.
Yeah, we're looking
you
for
never know what you're gonna find. It's the most random stuff.
Exactly.
And so it seems like a lot of the Amazon sellers are like, I guess they're buying things in bulk. My imagination is they're buying things like in China, like 1,000 iPod cases, and
Yes. Yeah.
and then they're making
making pennies.
Right.
On this one. It's crazy.
But the reason why
yeah.
we're talking is because it seems like you and maybe some others have found a different way to do it, and I'd love to hear about it. So go for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I felt exactly the same way really for years about it. The fees are high, although they're somewhat competitive with eBay. Most things you compete on price alone, but not everything. And it's interesting. Well, Amazon started out selling books. And so, if you have a run-of-the-mill book used, bestseller, I really don't know how those people make money. You put it on there on used and it sells for a penny. And, even if you send it into Amazon and it's Prime, you're making since it's free shipping, you can put $3.99 plus a penny. So you make a couple of dollars. Mm-hmm. But if you're selling a book that's collectible, say a first edition, those types of things, there may already be a listing for it, but you can upload your own photos because it's assumed that yours is different. So therefore, you kind of create your own listing. Huh. You're still competing on price, but if a collector is looking, they may want to look at each listing and look and see, a torn dust jacket but I do books. When I find collectible books, I almost always put them on Amazon now instead of eBay because there's just a lot bigger market for them there. I don't send them into FBA because, I never know exactly when they're going to sell.
No, real quick. So you are allowed to post your own a photo or make a new a listing?
For books, you can.
Gotcha.
And if there is no product in the product catalog,
right,
which is rare but does happen, you can do that. The pictures are subject to their picture guidelines, which is plain white background and things like that. So you're basically making the product catalog at that point. So
I've always wondered about this. So if I buy a book for a penny, which I have done, and then they charge me $3.99 to ship it, the profit's actually in that $3.99.
Well, now I don't know how they do it when they're shipping it from their own house.
Right.
But if you are, so here's how it goes. There's billions of Prime customers, maybe not billions. There's a lot of people that have Prime memberships.
Right.
So I have a Prime membership. I love it. Stuff gets to my door within 48 hours. Doesn't cost anything. So if you have, let's say there's Harry Potter, the first book. There's a million of them.
Right.
But you want to buy the used first edition, and there's a million of those too. You send yours into Prime, and you say the price is $1 or $2, and it's free shipping. Yours will still come up before the next lower price, non-FBA, non-Prime eligible thing. And since so many people like to shop Prime, they may be willing to pay a few extra dollars to get it that way.
Gotcha.
So when you figure all that and the cost of shipping being so cheap on Amazon, you could actually make a couple of bucks.
Gotcha.
You really wouldn't make much.
Right.
I mean, I think you'd have to just send thousands of books in to make it worth your while. On the other hand, some people do that because Amazon fulfills all the orders. Once you get books there, it doesn't matter.
Right. I mean, I read that on the Amazon forums, and it sounds like a fantasy where people are like just buying in bulk from somewhere. They have them shipped without even touching it to Amazon's warehouse, and then Amazon fulfills their orders, and they're just like acting like they're making $1 million.
Do they have to write a listing? Probably not.
No, because if they just added...
most of the time not.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen some of that too on YouTube, and I think that's sort of like the whole drop shipping thing. You get a drop shipper to send it straight from that place over to Amazon, and you give them the label. It sounds like it could be full of holes. It could be really tough to do.
Yeah.
This is what I do.
Go.
I haven't done a ton of Amazon shipments yet, but I really do think in the next year I'll be doing a lot more. The thing with Amazon is that unlike a regular retail store where you have your Target or Walmart, those guys buy certain products per season and they have to clear it out for shelf space. They put out stuff for, summer patio sets in April, and then they clear them out by July.
Right.
Summer's not even over, but they've got to make room for back to school.
Yeah.
So you get deals on those kinds of things because they only have a certain amount of shelf space.
Huh.
A place like Amazon has almost an unlimited amount of shelf space.
Right.
And people shop from all over the world to find that thing that's out of season or no longer made or in some way unique. You can really make money because you'd be buying them at your local market. You're taking them from one market and moving it to another.
Right.
You buy it at your local market for $75 or, I bought a bunch of stuff for 90% off, sent it to Amazon and got full retail price for it.
Wow.
So last summer I bought these barbecue tool sets, those little things. They come in a little case and they got the hamburger flipper and the scraper and whatnot. And they were closing those out at a local store that, it was the downtown Seattle Target. And I think they sold at the other Targets, but downtown nobody has an outdoor patio, So they had them even more than normal. It was like 90% off. I just saw there were piles and piles of them. So I looked them up on Amazon and the regular rate was like $55.
Wow.
And I just took cartloads. I had like 40 of them in 2 carts, and I brought them up to the cashier. And I was scared because I hadn't really done it before, but it was in July or early August, and I sent them in. And I'll tell you all about the sending in process. That's a little convoluted, but they were gone within like 3 weeks. Wow. And I made so how much were they? $900.
So how much were they bought for?
They were bought for about $5 each.
And sold them for like $50?
Like $55 or $59.
Whoa.
Yeah, oh. I know. But, think about it. Like, this is what they all do. You can't buy, it's hard to buy those things locally after it's been closed out.
Right.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that people don't have good weather,
right.
and especially in some parts of the country.
Yeah.
So it just turned out to be a great find. And that's not always the case. I look up a lot of things and I say no because I just am not sure.
Have you ever gone big in on something and it kind of blow up in your face?
Not yet, but I'm sure it will happen. Another thing I did is just funny because right now, the first purchase I ever made was, so right after Christmas, I went to our local drugstore. It's not even a national chain, but it's a chain here in Seattle, and they were selling, they have that whole holiday aisle, and they were selling off these, what do you call them, these giant air-blown, things that you put in your yard and fill with air, and I laugh because we live in these tiny houses with tiny lots here where I live, and when somebody puts those up, you can't even see the house.
Yep.
They had a bunch of those that they hadn't sold, and again, I think I bought them for $5. They weren't huge ones, but I looked them up on Amazon, and they were characters, like Snoopy on his dog house, or the green M&M girl and the red M&M boy. I'm not into that, but they all have a certain following, just people that really love the green M&M girl. I bought them. I bought all of the ones they had at my Bartels. Then I went around all over the city and bought them. And they must have thought I was nuts. Yeah. But and then I got all this stuff home and I thought, okay, I've never sent anything into FBA. I don't really even know how to do it. And it was January, and so I sat on those actually a good long time until the summer. And, when I started sending some other stuff in, they started to trickle out on sale. And I put them on for more than retail price because they were kind of collectible and no longer made. Some of them went for $70, $80.
What?
Yeah, because they were special, you know, and then by now they've all gone. You know, like in October and November, they just started rolling out.
Right.
And they're all gone.
So why don't you walk us through, us eBayers, why don't I say I've got 3 huge things of barbecue tools. How do I get that to the Amazon warehouse and start to sell to somebody?
Well, the thing you have to remember with Amazon is that you have to do it in a very particular way.
Right.
And you have to follow their rules. And if you don't, you get really messed up. But it's not hard at all. The first thing you do is you just sign up as a pro seller on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
There is a subscription fee. I think you have to be a pro seller to send to the warehouse, but I'm not sure. Anyway, they walk you through it all. You have to add your bank account, stuff like that. Then they show you how to add inventory to the, I forget what they call it, Seller Central, the main Amazon page. And it's, unlike eBay, I guess eBay is great because you can specialize each listing for your item so well, but you have the ease and speed with Amazon. Right. So, you know, you basically just say, I got 6 of these, I got 12 of these, I got 4 of these, and it's all loaded in. You click that you want this to be fulfilled by Amazon, and it starts to create a shipment manifest for you. And there's more to it than that. Every product that you send in has to be labeled very specifically. They come with barcodes, and there is a way to just have them scan the barcodes, but most of the time you want to create your own SKU with a scannable barcode, just, you know, that's unique to that item.
Right.
And make it really easy. The one thing I don't really like is that you can't just send to one warehouse. They will tell you where they want the products to go, and they will say, you know, you've got 14 of something. They'll say 6 here, 3 here, 2 here, and 1 here. And it's like, oh no. So I have to create all these different boxes and do it. You just send in a bunch at a time, and you fill up the boxes, and, you know, you figure it out. They do that because they want to be able to fulfill the orders quickly to people around the country, and they have some kind of crazy algorithm about who buys what where. I don't know. And Amazon also has some videos online that really make it simple to figure out. And
so if you make a mistake, they send it back to you?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, you know, no, they may. There's a lot of, it depends on the type of mistake. Don't make mistakes with, you know, items you're not allowed to sell or banned items. There's certain categories that are restricted. It would be really bad, I think, to send those in when you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
But certain mistakes, you'll just either get a message from Amazon, or you have to figure out why it didn't go into the inventory. Usually it would involve not having a SKU on a product.
Right.
And they may just charge you a fee to do that themselves.
Right.
Sometimes if it's not boxed correctly or arrives in poor shape, they're damaged and they can't sell them. And, you know, you've got to figure that out.
And does Amazon have a good, like, can I call a person, or is it all done through chat, or how's that work?
You can call, but you can also do a lot of it online. You know, I don't know all the ins and outs of that because so far I've been pretty lucky.
Good, yeah.
I know there are any number of things that can go wrong. I kind of subscribe to an FBA forum, and I hear all the problems, and it scares me. So, like I said, I haven't gotten in that deep yet because the majority of my income is with eBay.
So how much does it cost to ship, you know, large boxes to the Amazon warehouse? Yeah,
it's really cheap. I use the example of something like 38 cents a pound. I think it's actually the first 2 pounds is a certain rate, and then it's 38 cents a pound after that. It's never a concern, really.
Right.
The concern is when you sell oversized items, which are, I think, anything with one dimension over 18 inches or over a certain weight, they add in a lot of charges on the selling end on those items, and they really add up. Like, those barbecue tool sets, I think there was an extra $5 charge because they were over 18 inches.
Wow. Yeah.
I still made plenty of money. It was great, but you have to really watch that, because if it's not a high dollar value item, you could really lose out.
Yep. So here's the other thing that I read about on the boards, and that's the difference between customers on eBay and customers on Amazon. Now, I want to make clear, it doesn't mean it's two different people. It's just that I feel like people shop differently on eBay than they shop on Amazon. And can you talk about your experiences with that?
I think there are different sets of customers.
Really?
There are people that buy on both, like me, but the customer service portion of Amazon is completely different and so easy. I mean, on Amazon, you rarely have a problem. Even if an item has to be returned, they will deal with that. I mean, it's a bummer for sellers, but you don't have to worry about somebody leaving you bad feedback. You don't have to answer a zillion questions, which is what I feel like I spend a lot of time doing on eBay.
Huh.
Yeah.
Rarely do I have to answer questions on Amazon.
Why is that?
And, it's the customer. They just buy it if they want it or don't. A lot of times, especially with FBA, I think most people think it's coming from Amazon anyway. So they already understand the process. They know how it goes. You don't get feedback a whole lot on Amazon anyway. It's just not the same culture. Right. Some people will leave you feedback, but it's really rare. And honestly, I don't care, because I don't think you don't have to worry about DSRs. You're never really worried about getting a poor rating. If you ship good products and follow their rules, you'll have a great rating on Amazon. You just have to be very particular and do it the right way.
When I buy on Amazon, it seems like what I do is I put a rating on the product itself, not on the seller. So I guess that's a thing. You want to make sure you're selling things that don't have really bad ratings to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's true. When I do get feedback, it's usually about the product. It doesn't really even apply. So. Right.
Huh. And I wonder too if there's less questions just because everyone is selling mainly brand new products. So what is there to ask about? It's like,
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes. I mean, Amazon does sell used and collectible items. I haven't done it because it kind of seems like a nightmare. Huh. On eBay, I have all that space to say exactly what is,
take a lot of photos. Right, a lot of photos.
You don't sell, it's a different type of product. It's not like I can sell a jean jacket or something on Amazon, but, I could sell a collectible game or something. But, how do I describe that the box is torn in this corner and that? Yeah. I don't know. Mostly you're looking at new items, if possible, with a barcode. You can always generate your own, but usually that's a good way to compare. There's something you should know about Amazon. The one thing that you can use to compare whether items are maybe a good buy is that every product on Amazon has a sales ranking. You see it, you might have to scroll down the page a little bit, but it basically is a ranking from like 1 being the most common sold product on Amazon to, somewhere in the millions. And it's a good tool when you're looking things up to see, like you come across a big stock of something, you want to look for a low number because they're going to sell pretty quickly.
Right. So the other question I had was, I know we talked about that Amazon, it's kind of built so sellers are competing on price because everyone shares the same photo, and then it's who can sell it cheaper and get it shipped it's quickest. So I guess my question is, have you had items where you're really competing hard on price? Because I would assume the idea is you don't want it to be in the warehouse for too long, because that's where it really starts eating into your profit.
Well, the warehouse storage prices aren't too bad unless you're there for over a year. Then they impose a pretty big fee. Huh. So, I think about it, I didn't want to send those Christmas blow-up things until closer to the holidays.
Right.
You do compete on price, But you've got to realize if it's got a great sales ranking, you might want to send in your inventory, not necessarily at the lowest price, and wait for the lowest price ones to sell out. And as soon as they do, yours start going. Another thing that happens is sometimes you will buy inventory and Amazon joins in. Amazon itself starts selling it, and they will always undercut you on price.
Yeah.
I've read that. Yeah.
So that that's a bummer when that happens if you've invested in this inventory. And one of the things you really have to do is look at the prices and reprice your items periodically.
So are you able to dynamically adjust the price day by day or however you want?
Yeah, they have a great, when you look at your inventory under your seller account, it's just like a spreadsheet, and you can open it up and manipulate it right there for everything.
Huh, that's cool. Cool. Okay, so the other thing we've talked about on this show with eBay and Amazon is... and Mikey made a joke that some people didn't like about how he buys stuff on Amazon to test it out and then he sends it back, which I think is pretty common. I think because Amazon has such a generous return policy, and like you said, it's no hassle. You don't have to talk to anybody. What amount of stuff gets returned to you?
I have only had a couple returns. Sometimes it's funny. People will say, there's something wrong with it. I authorize the return, or Amazon does, and then they never print out the label. They just never do it. That happens sometimes.
Huh.
I think there's I think that's uncommon. It depends on what you're selling.
Right.
If it's something like a little electronic gizmo and you've got a bunch of them, you've got to figure a certain percentage are going to be coming back.
Right.
And it's a bummer. Yeah, I don't think people love it.
Yeah, probably
but
not.
that is the marketplace.
Okay.
That's what it is. And to tell you the truth, I would probably do the same thing if I needed to find the right gizmo. So.
I mean, it's like we all, or I know I do it at big box stores. You'll go, you'll buy something, and I have no hesitation to bring it back if I don't like it, just because they deal in volume and they don't care. They'll just take it back, so. Now, when someone returns an item, does it get sent back to your home or back to the warehouse?
It goes back to the warehouse, and then you can elect to have it destroyed or sent to you. So it really depends. If it's, if it's not functional, I don't know why I'd want it back.
Right.
But,
wow.
sometimes it's just a minor issue. And
so if someone said it didn't work and they sent it back to the warehouse, you just have it destroyed, and that's so.
Yeah, I know, doesn't that sound awful? But it's true.
I would love. There must be huge, gigantic dumpsters full of items.
You know what? I think they do destroy it all. It's really sad. I don't really know how it works, but at the end of the year, if you have a lot of inventory left in your store that they're going to charge an extra inventory charge to. It's a pretty big charge, and they will say, well, we'll charge you this much to send it to your house, or we'll charge you this much to destroy it. Either way, you end up having to pay.
Wow.
But it's not. If you had a lot of inventory, you could potentially save thousands of dollars by just saying, you know what, get rid of it.
Wow.
And it's a shame that it's destroyed.
Wait, I mean,
I like to think it's donated somewhere, but I really don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, when people say destroy, I mean, does Amazon actually say that word? Destroyed.
They do.
Wow.
They say destroyed,
Like it makes me think of some gaping maw, like, a robot that's just like chewing things up. But
yeah, they have a giant hole somewhere. But, I think they do that because they don't want people to think that they're just going to load it up to the Amazon webpage. I mean, there's, conflicts of interest there, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Huh. Now, so basically you have a year to sell the goods until it becomes cost prohibitive. Is that correct?
I would say most people feel that way. It depends on what it is. There's probably some items that you can make enough money on.
Right.
There are items that I think it's something like something that sells for over $300. They don't charge you, besides their commission fee, they don't charge you anything to pull it off the shelf, pack it, a weight charge, all of that part is free.
Huh, okay.
So for those items, it might be worth keeping around for a while.
Can people from other countries buy on Amazon through FBA?
Yeah, there's a couple of ways. They have like Amazon's global shipping program, not eBay's, but Amazon. You can sell certain items internationally. All you really have to do is go in and, click it on for your account, and they will decide what is eligible. And there's a long list of things that aren't eligible, and you can't sell anything oversized, and that's relatively new. And then in addition to that, you can sell on any of the other Amazon sites, but you just have to register under those sites as a seller. And it would be fulfilled through your Amazon warehouse and treated like, what do they call it, a multi-platform sale.
Right.
Which is what they call things when you want Amazon to fulfill orders to your own website or to eBay or anywhere else.
Okay, let's we've talked about this. Let's get a final verdict here. I mean, which one do you like? It's better, Amazon or eBay? Like, what experience as a seller? Well,
I love eBay. I mean, it's kind of hard. They're so different.
Yeah.
I like Amazon, and I may consider, I know I'm going to do it more in the future. Whether it would become my entire business, I don't know, because I found this enjoyable. Like you, I like to scavenge and find just really unique items and learn about their history. And I don't do that with a bunch of stuff that I just scan a barcode.
Yeah.
But, if you're out there doing it anyway, it's definitely something to know about the various marketplaces that you can sell on. And if you find product that, at least it's just the way I look at it, if I find product that's perfect for Amazon, I wouldn't turn it down. It's a great opportunity. And, Amazon takes care of everything on the sale end of it.
Right.
And twice a month they just deposit money into my account. What could be better than that?
So when you're scavenging out in the great world out there, do you have your Amazon app open and you're going through trying to find low prices and then scan them and just see how much they might sell for? Well,
I have an app called Profit Bandit on my phone. There's different third-party apps that you can buy just for Amazon, and some of them are really technical with mostly subscription fees, and they're for high-volume sellers. And you just scan the barcode and they'll tell you, the sales rank. They'll tell you the lowest price on Amazon. They'll tell you everything.
Wow.
Mine is a fine program. It's limited and it doesn't really cost anything.
Right.
But it's great. It's just great. Even when I'm just not sure and I want to buy something, I will be out and I'll scan the barcode and go, oh, well, Walmart's got it cheaper. So,
So are you actively going out there trying to scavenge for Amazon, or it's more you're out shopping at Walmart for milk?
I rarely do it.
Yeah.
But, I was just kind of this year was testing it out. And since I've become an eBay seller, it's changed the way I think of everything.
Right.
I rarely shop retail. I buy all my clothes. I wear everything from thrift stores.
Yep.
All my kids do. Everything is, different. It's all secondhand. But, when I need to go out to those stores, I always take the opportunity to look what's going on clearance. Yep. I also know that there are, just from research, there are certain periods, certain times of year when retailers really look to get rid of clearance goods, and those are the times to look.
And then I guess my last question would be, we use the barbecue tools being sold on Amazon as an example of a success. Why wouldn't that work on eBay?
It would. Okay. Yeah, a lot of the same things. I mean, eBay and Amazon are the same kind of merchant when you think about it. They're trying to sell everything to everyone, or they want everything to be available.
Right.
But Amazon is just a lot bigger market. The customer is different. I think the customer on eBay, there may be somebody going in there for the barbecue tools, and I could have put them on there. Some guy in Boston wants a barbecue tool set at his door in 48 hours. And he's not going to look around and wait for an auction or shop on eBay.
Right.
He's got a Prime membership and he wants something new in the box. And
it seemed like a dream for you. You don't have to box up all those barbecue tools each and every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and since I've learned this, that's the other thing, is that anything I find new in the box, I mean, it's just easier to hold on to it if if it looks like it's going to be a good product, and send it to Amazon, because it's something that I'm not going to have to do all that labor. It just increases my overall sales, especially when you can buy in volume, because you can send all of those in and you're looking at a couple hours labor.
Right.
I guess this is really my last question, because it's about how much money you think you can make. Do you think you could ever get it where it's like half and half of your income, or how big could Amazon be?
Yet.
Go.
I think I certainly could, but the more time I spend looking for things on Amazon, the less time I would have to do eBay. So
Right.
it's kind of tough. There are people that do Amazon full-time and make a full-time living, and I'm sure it's possible, but I would really change my focus.
Yeah.
At this point, I have a house and storage units full of inventory for eBay, so I just don't.
Yep.
I don't see doing that, but for me personally, I really consider myself an eBay seller, but I love to supplement my income, and I'm going to do it more when it's just a matter of finding the right opportunity. I'm going to take advantage of it.
Cool. So I assume that you have kids, but they aren't old enough to help you yet doing this work?
Oh, yeah, they hate this stuff. I drag them along. They're 10 and 12. They're getting there, but I think they're learning quite a bit about this, because they do sort of speak eBay around here. They know some of the things that I say, and they understand. I think maybe this summer is the year that I start to put them to work in the summer.
Yeah, it's funny because I always was like, I'm never going to be like my mom, and now I'm like exactly like we have the exact same job.
How old were you when you started?
Well, she did like craft shows and stuff when I was little, so she was her own like boss back then, but then she started doing eBay when I was in college, and I was just like, whatever. Actually, we helped each other learn it, but now I'm like, it's the only way.
I know, it's so funny. I was the same way.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get away from that stuff, antiques and whatever, but I did learn something, and it turned out to be a really good life skill too. So
cool.
Absolutely.
I definitely love, because we're definitely scavengers, and I love the idea of going into like a big box store and finding the thing that they're just slashing and just buying cartloads of it.
Well, it's almost Christmas. So after Christmas, they're going to be selling all their Walmart's going to be selling all their Christmas stuff for nothing.
Yeah. Huh. So that's how it goes. Although with Christmas, you have to remember it's not going to sell very well until next Christmas.
Yeah, you got to hold on to it. Yep, that's true.
But it still pays off if it's cheap enough. Yep. And if there are certain items that are just not that risky, so you can do that.
Caty, thanks so much for talking to us. This was definitely something we've been talking about amongst ourselves about selling on Amazon. So this really kind of, made me feel a little more comfortable about it. And I think we're actually going to start to
try it.
Keep our eye out for it. So
good. Yeah. Well, thank you. I really love your podcast. And
thanks.
I think it's interesting on the eBay side how you guys and I have kind of come about it from the same place and developed into selling a lot of the same things the same way. Maybe that's the natural progression of it. I don't know. But I really like selling on eBay.
All right. Thanks, Caty.
Okay.
Thanks. See you, Caty.
Right.
Bye.
Okay. Bye, guys.